Do you believe that the Environmental Protection Agency followed the proper process when determining, evaluating, and identifying the science behind the Bristol Bay watershed assessment? And if this has already been asked, I apologize. I had to run down and vote, as you know the procedure.
I do. The answer is no. I think that was not the fairest process that should have been employed, and that's where it comes down to this element of fair. Do I think the state of Alaska, Pebble, were treated fairly in the sense that a report that was used and filed with the SEC, as Mr. Scheeler has just mentioned, and then to have a watershed assessment filed, and to then represent to the Pebble partnership and to the state of Alaska, this watershed assessment is not going to be used as a basis for our decision, when in fact it was used as a basis for their decision. So that gets into the issue of is that a fair way to treat a key participant, that we're not going to use this because this is really incomplete. It doesn't have anything to do with mitigation efforts that might be developed. They might be insufficient, I don't know. But under the normal NEPA process, at least the Corps of Engineers would have a recommendation as to whether there is scientifically valid technology and processes available that would reduce or mitigate the damage that could be caused to the environment. None of that was included, and EPA recognized it, saying, look, this doesn't seek to compensate for the regular NEPA process, but the implication was we're not going to use this as the basis for determination, and that's precisely what they did. They used the assessment as the basis for their determination.
So if I'm understanding correctly, Mr. Secretary, how much, in your opinion, of the EPA review process for this project really depended on science that was specifically from the Bristol Bay watershed assessment?
Well, there was I should be clear on this, there was a great deal of science that was supplied. The opponents of the mine, they had many talented science experts present information. I think Pebble also had their scientists present information. There was disagreement. If you look at the comments in the peer review, you will find that in the peer review process there were citations of where the watershed assessment plan was deficient. And they pointed out you haven't taken into account what the Army Corps of Engineers would do and designate whether or not there were mitigation techniques that could be applied, whether there could in fact be a reasonable way and a responsible way for controlling the damage from any potential harm to the environment, which is an important consideration.
Certainly.
And so I think there's science on both sides. I decided I'm not a scientist, and I wouldn't even step into this. This is beyond my capability. But I respect the individuals who submitted scientific reports on both sides. I just think there's a difference of opinion in terms of whether or not you should have the benefit of having the best technology available, have that presented as evidence through the Army Corps of Engineers. That was not done, and so I think that's the point that needs to be focused upon.
Absolutely. One more question. Why is having an unbiased scientific process important for determining the environmental impact from this project?
Well, you would hope you would take the politics out of something this important. This is important to the state of Alaska, to the tribe. I think the tribes members who have traveled from Alaska or who represent the tribes from Alaska, this is important to them. Salmon's important to the economy of Alaska, and to not only Alaska but the lower 48 states as well. And it's also important to the state of Alaska to say whether or not we can have economic development in an area that we specifically have designated for economic development in the form of mining. So there are big issues involved. And my point is, when you've got these kinds of issues involved, isn't it the best way to pursue it is do it through the traditional process that you have used historically on those 13 occasions when you invoke 404C, do it when an application's been filed. And Pebble can say, I'm not ready to file it yet. I think that's up to them. They may need more, they may be looking for more technology that would satisfy EPA. but that's a decision, can EPA force you to do it when you're not ready? And that's a policy decision that Congress is going to have to act upon.
Okay, thank you very much.